Do you remember that sweet that made you smile even before you opened it? In India, there were sweets that not only sweetened childhood, they defined it. From the aroma of Kismi toffee to the bubbles of Big Fun, each one was a little gem from the 80s and 90s. Today, we're going to relive India's most iconic sweets, the ones that just by looking at their wrappers take you back to recess, laughter, and innocence. If a sweet ever marked your childhood, like, subscribe, and get ready. Because today we're going to unwrap those memories. Kismi toffee, the unforgettable sweet. Even today, just a whiff of cardamom is enough to remind many in India of the sound of Kismi toffee's red and white wrapper breaking between their fingers. That small, shiny, aromatic sweet was not just a treat. It was a symbol of Indian childhood in the 1980s and 1990s, a piece of history wrapped in paper. Kismi Toffee Bar, manufactured by the legendary Parle Products, was born at a time when sweets were simple, cheap, and full of personality. Its blend of caramel and cardamom made it unique. While the rest of the world fell in love with Western flavors, Kismi dared to be different, deeply Indian. It was sweet, but with a spicy touch reminiscent of traditional cuisines. In a word, authentic. For many, that flavor was the first time a sweet made them feel that something so small could contain the essence of the country. Mothers kept it in their handbags, just in case. Children traded it at break time, and adults chose it as a modest but sentimental gift. Its price of just 25 or 50 paisas made it an affordable luxury, a small daily reward. Kismi's packaging was another of its charms. That red paper with gold lettering and retro typography seemed to promise a story, and it delivered. Because every bite brought a feeling of warmth, as if time had stopped. There were no screens, no social media, no imported sweets, just the intense, fragrant flavor of cardamom, slowly melting in your mouth. Over the years, the world changed. Imported sweets, sophisticated advertising campaigns, and artificial fruit flavors arrived. Kismi quietly disappeared from the shelves. Inflation and production costs made its low-price version unprofitable. But the curious thing is that it never left people's hearts. On social media, you can still read comments like, "I would give anything to try a Kismi again," or "That was the taste of my school days." Kismi represented more than just a sweet. It represented a time when simplicity was enough, when a toffee could brighten your day, when you didn't need much to feel happy. Its aroma was the echo of a more innocent, slower, closer India. Even when Parle launched new versions such as Kismi Bar or Kismi Toffee Mini, true nostalgics knew that nothing could match the original. The one you bought with your pocket money, the one you shared with friends after school, or the one you got in small shops wrapped in waxed paper. Today, to mention Kismi Toffee is to speak of collective memory, of an India that grew up, changed, but still holds in its soul the taste of that cardamom-filled sweet. Because some sweets are not just eaten, they are remembered, and Kismi is one of them. Poppins, the rainbow that sweetened Indian childhood. And what came after savoring a Kismi toffee? For many, the answer was clear. Opening a tube of Poppins, that brightly colored roll that looked like a treasure hidden in the pockets of their school uniform. If Kismi was the sweet with the nostalgic aroma, Poppins was the sweet of colors, painting Indian childhood with shades of mango, orange, lemon, strawberry, and grape. Also manufactured by Parle, Poppins started out as a simple strip of hard candies, but ended up becoming an inseparable part of Indian children's culture. There was no birthday, outing, or train journey where it did not appear. Its presentation was unmistakable. A cylindrical tube wrapped in silver paper filled with sweet coins stacked on top of each other like little glass jewels. Every time you opened it, there was that crack that marked the beginning of a little adventure. Unlike other sweets, Poppins was not an individual sweet. It was a set. And that made it special. It was a bit like a game, a collection. Children compared colors, argued about which flavor was best. There was always someone who defended orange or hated green. And sometimes they shared it with friends or hid it for later. It was more than just a sweet. It was a symbol of friendship, rivalry, and simple moments. In the 1990s, when India was beginning to open up to the world, Poppins remained 100% local and proudly Pal. Its flavor was unmistakable, sweet but balanced, and its packaging became a pop icon. The shelves of rural and urban shops were filled with these little towers of color, like solid confetti. Even Parle's advertising reinforced its cheerful spirit, with slogans inviting people to enjoy life one color at a time. But what really makes Poppins so fondly remembered is not just their taste, but what they represented. They were the symbol of a leisurely era, when a simple sweet could last an entire afternoon. When children would gather in the shade of a tree or on a street corner outside school to share them amid laughter. There were no phones, no filters, no notifications. Just the sound of paper being unwrapped and the sparkle of sweets in the sun. As time passed, new generations forgot about the original Poppins. Foreign competition, new packaging, and modern sweets displaced the classic Parle tube. Even so, many adults today feel a lump in their throat when they see an old photo of a Poppins or find one in some forgotten shop. Because that little tube represents something bigger than candy. It represents lost innocence, childhood friends, and that exact moment when the world seemed simpler. In an India that has changed so much, Poppins remains a reminder of pure joy. A rainbow of sugar that teaches us that sometimes happiness fits in a silver tube with 7 colored sweets. Big Fun Bubblegum, the flavor that turned every bubble into an adventure. After Poppins, with its colors that painted childhood, came another equally magical ritual. The sound of Big Fun bubblegum wrappers breaking between your fingers. It was small, cheap, and often bought with the last coins you had. But it was enough to fill an entire afternoon with laughter and challenges. In the 1980s and 1990s, Big Fun was not just chewing gum, it was a phenomenon. A piece of pink paper that hid more than just flavor. It hid dreams, collections, and competition. Whoever managed to blow the biggest bubble earned respect at break time. It was almost an invisible trophy, a medal made of air and sugar. Manufactured by ITC under the Big Fun brand, its flavor was intense, with a sweetness that lasted just long enough to leave you wanting more. But what made it truly legendary were the mini cricket cards that came inside each wrapper. They were small rectangles of paper featuring the heroes of the national sport: Kapil Dev, Sunil Gavaskar, Sachin Tendulkar. Collecting them was a national game in itself. Children traded them, stuck them in notebooks, hid them from their younger siblings. Every Big Fun packet was a possibility, a lottery of idols. And so Big Fun bubblegum became a symbol of identity. Not only did you know who your favorite player was, but you also carried them with you, crumpled and worn in your pocket. The gum wasn't just chewed, it was lived. It was part of street culture, of impromptu games on empty lots, of after-school snacks, of the hustle and bustle of local shops where everyone wanted one more. Its advertising was also part of the myth. In television commercials, children appeared laughing, showing huge bubbles exploding over their faces, while the Big Fun logo glowed on the screen like a promise of happiness. In an India that was just opening up to globalization, this gum represented a dreamy, optimistic, and free youth. Many adults today remember precisely the smell of strawberry when they opened it, the taste that vanished in minutes, and the excitement of discovering which cricket card they had got. Today, if you ask any Indian born in the 1990s, do you remember Big Fun? Their eyes light up. Because that chewing gum didn't just blow bubbles, it blew dreams. It represented a naive, joyful India united by a game, a sport, and a flavor. Big Fun was just that, a breath of childhood encapsulated in gum, a piece of the past that continues to float in the collective memory like a bubble that never quite pops. Sword digestive drops. The sweet that made you grimace, but you could never stop eating. After the burst of fruit flavors in Big Fun, there was a complete contrast. A small brown tablet wrapped in shiny paper with a salty, spicy, and mysterious aroma. Sword digestive drop. That sweet that defied the very definition of sweet, yet earned itself an eternal place in the memory of an entire Indian generation. Manufactured by Panjon Foods, Sword did not seek to be a sweet like any other. It had no bright colors or wrappers that screamed fun. It was playing a different game, that of complex flavors, spices, and that balance between bitter, sour, and sweet that only India understands. Each little sweet was an explosion of Ayurvedic flavor, a mixture of cumin, tamarind, ginger, black salt, and digestive herbs. The funny thing is that many people tried it for the first time by accident because someone at home offered it after a meal. And suddenly, that look of surprise turned into addiction. It was a flavor that was confusing at first, but then captivating. Sword had that magic. It tasted strange, but it tasted like home. In the 1990s, when children gathered after lunch or after school, there was always one who carried a handful of sword in their pockets. Just one more, they would say, as laughter mingled with expressions of surprise at the tart taste on their tongues. It was a sweet that united generations. Grandparents, parents, and children all ate it. In every Indian home, there was always a jar hidden away with these sweets to aid digestion or simply to enjoy their unique flavor. Its name, Swad, literally means flavor or taste in Hindi. And it couldn't be more accurate because it was a flavor that couldn't be explained in simple words. It wasn't sweet or salty. It wasn't sour or bitter. It was all of those things at once. That mixture, so typical of the Indian palate, made it a timeless classic. Swad's commercials and packaging didn't need to exaggerate. Its reputation was enough. Many remember it for its hard texture at first, which slowly melted away to release that spicy tamarind taste that made you close your eyes. In an era without ultra-processed snacks, Swad was the medicinal dessert that managed to be both healthy and addictive. In a country where taste is an emotion, Swad digestive drops became the candy of the soul, a reminder that sweetness is not always found in sugar, but in the memories it leaves behind. Melody Toffee, India's sweetest mystery. Do you remember that question everyone repeated in the adverts? Why this Kolaveridi number? Long before that, the question that defined a generation was, why is Melody so chocolatey? With that simple phrase, Melody Toffee became a legend of Indian childhood. Also manufactured by Pal, this creamy sweet was not only eaten, it was analyzed, debated, and dreamed about. It was the sweet that aroused curiosity, desire, and above all, nostalgia. Unlike other bright or colorful sweets, Melody was elegant and mysterious. Its black and gold wrapper seemed to hide a secret. And indeed it did. Inside that little sugar capsule was a soft core of liquid chocolate that melted slowly in your mouth. It was a sweet with a double identity, toffee on the outside, a cocoa heart on the inside. And that made it special. When Parley launched Melody in the 1980s, it did so with a game-changing advertising strategy. Instead of selling just flavor, it sold a story. Television commercials showed children and adults trying to figure out why Melody is so chocolatey, and no one gave the answer. That simple question became a national slogan, a kind of cultural riddle that everyone knew. The taste of Melody was unmistakable. The caramel had a silky, slightly sticky texture that slowly released a creamy burst of chocolate in the center. It was a miniature flavored journey, an affordable luxury that cost just a few coins. Each bite made you feel like you were eating something bigger, more important than just a sweet. But beyond the taste, melody represented sophistication. In an India that was beginning to modernize, its black and gold design conveyed something premium, almost Western, but with a very Indian soul. It wasn't the noisy sweet of recess. It was the sweet that was savored slowly, with patience. A little known curiosity is that Parle kept the melody recipe almost intact for more than 30 years. Few products survived so many changes in taste and foreign competition. Even today, in a market flooded with global sweets, melody still has its loyal niche. Social media is full of memes and tributes to its legendary slogan, and many remember it as the sweet that made you think. For those who grew up in the 1990s, opening a melody was a little ritual. Some bit into it immediately to get to the chocolate center. Others let it melt slowly, as if prolonging that moment were a way of stopping time. During breaks, at the cinema, on train journeys, melody was always there, wrapped in shiny paper, ready to quietly sweeten the routine. Because some sweets are forgotten, but melody remains, slowly melting in your memory. Roller cola, the flavor that defied imagination. And so we come to the end of this journey. But we couldn't end it with just any sweet. It had to be roller cola, the sweet that dared to do the unthinkable, turn a drink into a sweet. Just imagine, it was the 1980s. Black and white television was still flickering in many homes. And suddenly, this little sugar disc appeared, promising something no one had ever tasted before. The taste of cola, but without the bottle. It was a sensory revolution, an invention that made children's eyes light up and adults frown with curiosity. How could a sweet taste exactly